So now what we want to do, we're going to do some sampling. Hey, you might as well start getting into sampling. You know, it's an MPC. You've got MPC 1 Plus. Let's check it out. So I want to do some sampling. I'm going to press menu. Press that menu button and I can see I got options. And from my options here, we want to select Sample Edit. Now, here in Sample Edit, I already have a sample lined up already. This is that crusty cowbell sample from my collection of my breakbeat collection, which is kind of dope. And of course, we have a BPM here of 126. Let's hear it back. So once I go to Sample Edit, these pads turn into a whole different thing. So I know this pad here will loop the entire thing. Let's hit this. All right, stop that. Okay, that's a pretty big sample. It's a pretty long sample, right? And this S right here is start point, and this E right here is the end. Pretty simple stuff, right? So this is our sample. Now, I tend to do a couple things before I do anything with a sample. I want to process this sample first. Now, the name I could change, of course. I could go hit the keyboard button right there. I could change the name. I'm not doing that. That's just in case you want to know about that. Here's a garbage can. I can throw it out. I'm not doing that. But if you want to throw it out, you can do that too. Okay, what I do want to do is I want to make sure I can get this sample to have the best quality possible and to be as loud as hell, I prefer. To be loud enough where it doesn't distort, but it takes up all the room inside its sample space. I've got my sample here. It's kind of cool. And of course, you know, it's kind of low. For me, this is kind of low because you can see this room. It's tiny to me. It should be bigger. The reason why it should be bigger, I want to fill this whole space out. That's why I want it bigger. I want to make sure it fills it up. I got a quality sounding sample. So, as we showed you before, of course, this is our garbage can. This is our keyboard garbage can right here. I want to process this sample. So this is processing right here. And I want to select processing. And now, as you can see, we got normalize there. I already select that out. We have other options here. We got discard, we got delete, we have silence, we have extract, and we have normalize. And I already selected that already because I want to normalize this sample. And so I'm going to go and hit do it. And once I do, see how loud that is now? Matter of fact, let's hear how loud that is. Let's hit this pad right here, 16. Oh yeah. I know you can hear that. Okay, that's it. Hit that again. Pad 16, we'll loop it in sample edit mode. We'll teach you that later on. But first, let's get some cool ideas down. This is a sample I want to chop up. I like pizza. We're going to chop into 8 pieces maybe. That may be good. Maybe 16. That's a thin slice of pizza. But anyway, we're going to chop it up. So currently, as you can see, I have this selected, which is actually my magnifying glass. And this indicates that I can zoom into the sample and hit any transient, which is actually these big up and down white lines you see here. Those are transients. Those are a lot of sounds within this waveform. Now, when I have the waveform part where it's like flat and just line in the middle, that's the 0 point. So we're going to go in here and try to zoom in. I'll show you why we have the zoom on. I got one finger here. I got one finger here. I'm going to pull out. Oh, I'm zooming in. See that? I'm zooming in right there. I can get so tight. I can zoom in really tightly onto that part and get a great view of the sample. So what I want to do next is go back out. Now sometimes when you got a sample, you may want to hear it. And rather than hit the pad, I may want to hear this one section. So I might go here to my headphone, which is right here. Let me show you this. This is a headphone next to my zoom, my magnifying glass. Hit the headphone. I can hear stuff now. I can come to here. I just touch this sample anywhere. And it starts to play. Let go, it stops playing. Sort of like note on and note off. That's note. I hit it, hold it down, it plays, move my hand, stops playing. So what I want to do is zoom into the front. Now you'll see here, we have S for the start, E for the end, obvious, green and red. And so I go back to zoom right here. Now I'm in zoom, I want to get to the beginning of the sample. So I want to make sure I can do this accurately. So I want to go to here, one finger, and pinch out, boop, a little bit. Then go back to the top again, and pinch out again a little bit, and go back to the top again. See that? At the top, we can see here at the very top, we got some noise. Here and here. But none at all whatsoever here. So right there. I'm gonna go zoom in again. Watch this. I'll zoom in again, and now, one more time. I'm gonna zoom like this. And you see that's the very top of my sample. There's the S. This space I wanna get rid of. That's pretty simple to do. I have this selected right here, and I can come in there, and I can actually turn the knob, if this is selected right here. And see that? I just moved up. But I moved up by 313 samples. That's a little bit too much. I want to move up in increments. So I'll come to here, and I'm going to use my Q-Link knob. So my first knob here, this Q-Link knob, if I tap this little knob, you'll see it says 1,000. Let me move it one time. Boom. That's a lot. But every time I move it, it goes by thousands. You see this here? That's 4,000 samples. Let's go back to here. And the reason why I know it's samples, you can see right here, that says samples. Okay, good. So now I want to move this knob here, I can do in hundreds. And this knob is in tenths, and this knob is in samples. So I can do one sample at a time. I would take a long time to get this. So what I want to do here, make it real simple, I want to go into thousands first, get close there. Then what I want to do is probably move in tenths. That's pretty good. But what I want to do is go out here and go closer. I want to get real close now. I want to zoom in. I'm going to magnify right into this sample. I move the tenths like this right there. Whoa, right this close. Let's get a little closer. Move it over some. Then I'm going to move it in little bits. Whoa, right there. That's pretty good. We're right on top of that. That's the beginning of the sample. So now what I want to do is sort of come back out. I know I'm in the beginning now, so I know I'm right there. So I know it's... So what I'm doing, I'm hitting the very first pad. I'm making sure I can trigger that first sound perfectly in sync. Now what I want to do is get the end of it next. I want to get the end to make sure I have the perfect sample size. I want to talk more about the Q-Link working with my sample before I actually try to loop this thing. You'll see that my sampling starts with the start point here, right? And that's the first Q-Link right here. That's the first light I have on right here. And so what I'll do here next is I will tap this. I'm back at the start. And you see the start is right here. I want to get to here. I'll press this Q-Link in one time. And now I'm in the end point of the sample. And so I can check the end. I'll tap this one time here. I'm at the end. Now I could push the Q-Link in one more time for the third Q-Link. I'm here in loop. I can make my loop right here. I can figure out how long the loop's going to be. I can shorten it down or whatever right there. And next I want to do slice. If I can have all slices, they'd be right here, and I'd work with each slice. Okay? That's all slice. And back to the first one again, I'm in start. I'm going to go right back here to endpoint with my Q-Link. I'm going to zoom into the end again. Go back to here, zoom into my end. Okay, this is good. Now, so what I'm going to move this up in tenths. And the weird thing about using this is that Q-Link, you see it, you're like, what? I don't even want to see that, right? So I want to go back up to here. I'm with tenths right here, excuse me. That was singles. And I'm going right here. I want to see that. There we go. I want to get close now. I want to make sure I'm going to be right on it. And we can see it's grayed out somewhat, right? So if I go back in singles, I see that, once I see a little piece come back in, I don't want that. I want it right on it. Right, there you go. Right there is good. And this is the thing you have to do. You may have to get to the end of it. It'll be grayed out. That's the first bass drum for the next dimension that would come around, but it isn't. So now I'm going to go back in again, zoom back in, and hit this pad again. 2, 4, 5th bar, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Back to 1. Oh yeah, that's looping now. See that? So I like that. I want to make sure my loop is seamless and it works. This is important when sampling. I just counted out 12 bars. I want to make 6 chops probably. And loop again. Always check the loop. I want to talk about this gearbox. So we covered this up here. Let's finish some more here. This is the gearbox. That's our gear right there. Now there are settings here that we use. Now this first setting, these first 2 here or 3, we use this for chop mode. So this is the toggle chop mode. And this is the one-shot mode. Hit it one time, play straight through, one shot. Okay, toggle, you gotta hit it to turn it on and hit it to turn it off. Next we have this is Cue Preview. This is off. I go to here, preview. It'll preview the smallest sound before the sample comes in. And this is after. It'll preview the small sound after it comes in. Okay? And let's go back to off here. And this one, next one here is set for, this is our slice preview. Preview before and back for slices. This is for cues, this is for slices. Now the next thing we have here is our scroll mode. And this is important here in this session. So I've got this track going on here. I'm gonna press close. I'm gonna sort of zoom in. I'll pinch, zoom to the front, pinch again, zoom to the front. And now I'm gonna play this sample. So I'll hit pad 16. And so it just moves on. I have no idea where the playhead went, right? So I'll come back to the settings and I'll select, I want to follow. Okay, we'll press close. Now hit the pad again. Now watch this. We're following now. We're following the playback head. You may want to see the perfect spot we want to chop it at. All right, that's kind of cool. But we can also do page by page. So this is going to be a page, and I'll press close, and I'll do it again. I'll hit the first pad. Switch. See that? Gets to the very end. Switch. Stop that. And that's the follow. That's pretty cool. Now next here in settings, this is really important. I like to see the settings sometimes in samples, time, or beats. So for example, I'll go to here to time. I'll go to here to close, and you'll see right here, this is in terms of time. Right here. Right, so I will go back to the beginning, and you will see time right here. That means this ruler that goes for this sample will be in terms of time. From the beginning to the end of the sample, how much time did that take? We'll go back to settings again. And now I want to look here at samples. I'll close this window out, and you'll see here, this sample now is in terms of samples. This ruler here is in samples. Now, I'll go to here, and I'm going to go to beats. This is one of my favorite sections. Because in beats, I can see how long the sample is in terms of beats and bars, right? I can see right here, it's 12 bars. And you can see it's the beginning, and this is in beats, which makes it cool. Once you get the beginning to the end, you can see how many bars there are. You got something to work with right there in terms of the measurement for how we build songs or build projects. That's really cool. And that's how our settings work. Now, next to settings, we have resource. And this is our system resources, okay? So we can see here, we got plenty of CPU. We're not using much at all. And we still got plenty of storage here. So I'm not even gonna worry about that. That's okay. Now, I want to show you one thing also right here. You'll see here the start point here is at 10,490, right? That's 10,490. The loop point is 10,490. The loop point is based on the start of the loop. The ending is already known factor. The end is here. I'm not changing the end. What we're doing is making sure the beginning is correct. So these two numbers will be the same when you have the loop set to a proper amount you want to loop it to. Pretty simple stuff. So in order to do that, what I will do next is I will come to the main part. I go to my main screen. And so I want to make a brand new program. New program. I want to assign that sample to the first pad in this program. So I want to do a assign to the program. I want to assign sample right there. Right, I want to go to this pad. And I want to assign my crusty there, right? Here's my crusty right there. Whoa, see that slow down? Oh, got a little beat there too, right? Oh, it's right there now. It's perfect. Now I go back to main. I know that sample's on the first hit here. Perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure this sample is going to work there. And I want to make sure I can change the tempo when it works, because it loops. But I want to make sure we can warp this sample immediately so I can do testing and see if I want to use it for something else and get an idea how this sample sounds quick or slower. Quicker or slower? That's probably what I'm going to say. So we're going to come to here next, and I want to go to Program. So I'll press Menu, and I'm going to go right here to Program Edit. I'm in Program Edit right here. So now I'm in Program Edit, and I got a sample here, right? I can do this, reverse the sample. Ooh, what's it? Ooh, I like that. Loving that. That's reversing the sample. So that's cool. But what I want to do right now, I want to make sure the sample works. I know it's 126 BPM. So it's chopped right. It's perfect for me. I will come here and warp. I want to warp it. Once I select warp, it tells me I'm at 126. That's cool. So now what I want to do is loop it at a different speed. Now that's what warp helps me to do. So I'm going to go back to my main screen. I got that sample there. This is like this is a 2-bar sequence, right? I'm going to go to here and maybe make it 4 or something. 4 or 5 or... Yeah, 4 is good enough. Of course, once I have that first beat right there on, it's going to play and trigger it. We're going to play 4 bars right here. So I'm going to go back to main again right here. And I want to play it from the top here at this BPM. With the metronome on. See, the metronome's not working with it. And it rushes in. Let's turn the metronome off. So now I'm going to change the speed. Okay, listen to that. It rushes right back in. See that? Okay, the reason why I do this is because I want to make sure this is going to be perfect no matter what. And this is important to do when you're actually going to deal with samples and sample chops. So now I have a reason to chop the sample up because I got a human being playing this track. He's not going to be a robot playing perfectly in sync. But if I can get it to a point and I understand where it's slow, where it's fast at, then I want to chop this sample up. But currently, I'm just testing the speed too as well. As I get slower, the sound sounds a little degrading, right? Like, let's speed it up a lot now. Let's go to here and go here. Sounds better higher, doesn't it? Make it faster. Okay, it's 140. It's not bad, right? I'll do this. I'll test it here till I go to here. 2 bars. Stop that. And this is the purpose of doing this, is to warp it and test the sample, expand it, stretch it. We want to prove it's going to work. And now that I've heard this, I know that it sounds better faster. It sounds terrible slower. We learned that. And also at the same time, I understand that I need to make this into a chop, not keep the whole sample. Now, I want to go back here to sample. Matter of fact, let's turn this back to where this was at. That was like 126, right? I think it was 126 was the actual sample. We'll leave it there right now. And I want to go back here to menu. I'm going to go back to sample edit. So here in sample edit, I have been in trim. I'm only using trim. I'm testing my sample out. I'm getting the front, the ending, see how it works with the timing. I got the right beats here selected for my measurement of my sample, which is great. And we go to see the root note is C right here too, right? I can also zoom here from the bottom of this window. I can go to zoom in to the beginning. I'll pull it back like this. It's pretty cool, right? I can press this button here. I'm in start. I'm in end mode. This is kind of cool way to actually get to look at our sample. I can assign the sample. I can assign this sample to a pad. I can assign, this is called a slice, I guess you'd say, to a pad. I can pick a pad, say pad 13 if I want to. Pad parameters right here. And program 2. I just created a program, right? So that's kind of cool. It sees that. Close that out. Next, what I want to do, I want to explain more about the process of using this sample in many different ways. I'll come here to processing, and we have the first option here should be discard. It is. So I can discard, as you can see here, the beginning piece I don't want and the end piece I don't want. And I could do that. And I think I will do that. So I'm going to come to here and I'll press do it. And once I do, you'll see the beginning has been chopped off and it's okay. It's cut off here, cut off there, right? Same sample name here. Now, if I don't like that, I can press undo and it's right back where it was. I like that. That way it's non-destructive editing. I can come back here and get the beginning I don't want, but I don't really want those parts. So I'm getting rid of them anyway. So just want to show you it's non-destructive editing. We can actually get those parts back if you want to keep it. So I will come to here again and go right back into process. And then I want to get rid of it. So let's do it. It's done. It's gone. I can also press down shift and press my undo button. It'll redo, right? Okay, good. So next what I want to do here, I want to take a piece out of this sample. So let's go back to process. And here in process, I did discard already. And then we have delete. I can delete the end and the beginning, right? And then it becomes this. The middle's gone and the two, the front and the end, get together as one other sample. I don't need that. So, but if you want to do that, you can do that, of course. I can add a silent section. I can say this section should be silent. This section should be silent. I can say, okay, I'm going to keep what's on the outside of my front, start, and end, and the middle section from the start to the end point should be silent. I can do that as well. Here's what I want to do. I want to extract a new sample from this 12-bar loop. It's 12 different pieces, which I tend to chop up in chop mode later on. But right now in trim mode, you may just need to do one small thing in trim mode, and I want to do this for us. So right here, I want to do this. So I'm going to go back to canceling that. And now what I want to do is find a new beginning and end. So I've got the beginning perfect. I want to change my endpoint. So I'm going to press this Q-Link button here. Now I'm in the second section here. I'm going to make sure I go back here on my first page of trim. So I'm in trim mode right here. And now what I want to do is move this across in large increments. Stop this. Okay, there we go. I want to make sure it's moving. I didn't see, there it is. We're moving now. I want to make sure it's moving perfectly here. And I want to go to here. Okay. I want to zoom in. And the cool part of having this in beats, I can make it 2. See, you can see the beats on top of it right there, which is cool. I can come in here and say, well, look, I'm going to go to here. I may just want to just have 4. So the 4 didn't sound so great before. So what I'm going to do here, I'm probably going to deal with the smaller section, the 2 bars. There's 1, 2, so end of 3 is good, right? That's the end of 3, or the end of 2 rather. So I want to zoom in here and get closer. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. I want to zoom a little closer. I want to get right to here. See that? It's coming back in again. I want to get to here, up, in, out. I want to make sure it doesn't come back at all. So I'll press this first pad. Okay, it's doing it. So let's go in more like this. Great, that's it right there. That's the part I want to extract out from this main sample. So I'm gonna come right here, I press process, and I say extract. Now see, when you actually extract a new sample out, what happens is we get a brand new name. Well, not brand new, it's just added a 1 there. So it took the easy way out. So that's 1. I'll say that once, pretty good. So I'll say do it. And it extracts that sucker out, but I don't see it right now, right? So I gotta go back here to sample, right? I turn this knob. Oh, there it is right there. It's so close. And I go right here, and there it is. I extracted a sample from my main big sample. I have 1 new sample. Kind of cool. I can hit my pad right here. Did it again, stop it. And this sample is perfect. I just processed that sample and pulled it out. Now, you'll notice here, right here, this little section, this is our mode here for our sample playback. So I can come to here in this sample, it's gonna play, let's go to here. And I hit this once, let's hit it just one time. And just played one time straight through, see that? This is not looping, let's go right to here to the end, that's it. I can go there, hit this like this now, and I'll hit this pad, hit the first pad. That's cool. And the next one here does the same thing. Okay, good. So I'm gonna go back here to the first one. I'm hitting pads, and I'm gonna go back to my loop now. If I use the loop pad, and I go back to the first section, right here, that's why loop pad's different. I go to here, now watch this. I'm gonna go to here next. See that sign? On both ends. You saw that, right? Now I'm gonna turn the knob here again, goes to the next one right there. So it loops the end. And that's how it works. Now when I hit this pad, this is a loop pad. Pad 16 in sample edit mode. My first pad I hit the first time will just play the sample straight through. So be aware that when you deal with this, and I prefer to hit this to get a test of how it sounds backwards and forwards. And that's kind of cool to do that. So this is pretty cool what we just did, right? We got our BPM, look at the BPM now, it says this is 126.04. See how that happens? I chopped it down. It says, wait a minute, that's a little bit more than what we see. The software in here is very accurate, so be aware of that too. When you do chop a sample up, always check to see what the BPM is. Because if you're using a breakbeat or something and it's part of the loop, humans, you know, they play the drums, the saxophones, all the records most people sample. So you want to make sure it's within the confines of what the BPM is, and you want to make sure you're close to it or exactly on it. Either way, but check to see to make sure. That's a cool way to process a sample. So I come back to here again, I go to process, and I can process more stuff here. I can do, I can normalize this. This sample's already been normalized, right? And I can come and do it again. Let's cancel this out. Let's see. It looks like it's pretty loud though. As you can see, it's hitting the peak here, this line in the middle. It's stereo, and so there's no need to actually process that sample again. And I can go to here and normalize past there. We have reverse. I can reverse the entire sample. Let's do that. And now the sample's been reversed. So I can just press play here. Matter of fact, let's turn this off and play it. Stop that. That's pretty simple stuff to do. I want to undo it. I'll press the undo button. Run done. And that's cool. Makes sense to do the undo button right down here. So next, cool, there we go. Run done, see it flip backwards, perfect. And so I got this too, I'm not using that right now. And so we want to process again. We got reverse. I can fade in this sample. I can do linear or logarithm or exponential. Let's try linear first. We'll press fade in, do it. And so now we're gonna fade in. Kind of cool. Let's undo that. Let's try it again. Let's go to here, process, and we're going to try logarithmic. And we're going to here, we're going to press do it. And we're going to go to here and press this. But I like that more because I still have the indication from the beginning that we're still at some level, but it goes up in a nice, even way, which I like a lot. Now, next one I want to probably do here is go back here to process, but first I'm going to undo. It's undone. I go back here to process again, and now we're going to exponential. Okay, let's do this one. Do it. Okay, look at this. This is really like quiet. This is really serious here. It goes from nothing to everything. And you see that. So depending on what you want to do, you do it. Now we'll get out of this and we'll press undo. Undone. Now next, let's look at process again. Here in process, we got to fade out. They work the same way. You can test at home. I think there's no need for you to see that because it's the same way except reverse what we did. So let's go to the next one here. We have pitch shift. I can pitch shift these samples. So I can come to here, and I may want to pitch shift it up a whole fifth up, right? In terms of pitch. I'll say do it. It's doing it. It did it. So as you can hear, the sample's the same speed, but the pitch of the sample has changed up by 5 semitones. So I don't like that. And let's undo that. That works great though if you have a saxophone or keyboard or something, even with drums at a point where you want to tune the drums to a record. But you must test it, see if it works or it doesn't work. But that feature is a great feature to have on your MPC. Now I'm going to drag this back to where it should be at. Oops. Go to here and put this back in at 0. Good. And we're going to go to cancel this out. I'm going to press process again. And I want to go to the next one, which is time stretch. I can time stretch a sample up to anything. So this says 8 beats. So that means 2 bars, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And that's 2 bars. So here we have it. It's 100% here, right? In terms of that. And I can change it to this. So this is what it is now. This is what it could be in the future. So I can come to here, let's say right there. I may want to do it, let's say, what I did 149, 140 last time I did that. Let's do 140. So I'll press do it. And now it processes the sample. That's pretty quick. Like that. I hit this here. That's pretty cool. That's time stretching. That takes the sample and time stretches it out to where I want it to be. Now, I prefer to use time stretching. Once I get a sample I like, after I test the warping out, I will tend to time stretch that sample because it's better when I actually time stretch it. The sound quality is right there. If I warp it down or up too much, it sort of gets a little pixelated like a picture would be. Let's say, how do I say this? It's sort of warpy and sort of wobbly in a sense. But time stretching works better once you're positive of the speed or the BPM you want that sample at. So let's undo that though. Let's play it back. Perfect. Just want to make sure it's correct. And now I'm going to go to process again. And then I want to look here at the next feature here, which is gain. I can increase the gain of it. So I come to here. Let's lower the gain. Let's keep it down some. Take it down by 7. And we'll press do it. And you'll see the sample's quieter. I never want to do that. So I'll do that for, I don't know why I would even want to change the gain unless it was too loud or something, but I guess it's a feature that you'll need to have. Undo, and we're back where we started from. Next, I'll go back to process again. I want to look at, let's see, copy is pretty simple. I want to make another copy of the sample. As you can see here, I got the main sample, I make a new sample. That's easy to do, so I won't do that one. I'm going to go to my next feature here, reduce the bit depth. Whoa. Now, this is going to change the sound of the sample. Sit there so I can come to here. Let's go to here. Reduce the bit depth. I'll go like to here to 9. And we'll say do it. Now I'll play it back. Undo that. can barely hear it from there, but at home you will hear that. So what I want to do next, I'm going to go back to process, and I'm here in bit depth, and I'm going to go all out now. I'm going to go all out on this sucker and press do it. Let's hear it back now. And it's done it again. So, but you don't really hear it too much depending on the sample you use, but it does work. And it did work in this case, but you're not going to hear it that well through the camera, but it does work. So I'm going to go back to here and press undo that. Perfect. And back to process again. So we have stereo to mono, which I never want to turn to stereo to mono unless it's a saxophone or something, or, you know, a single person's voice. I may want to just go from stereo to mono in case a background part I want to do. So depending on what you want to do, you want to pick which side you want to do in stereo or mono. So in this case, I can go from stereo to mono. I can use the right. I can use the sum of the two, left and right, and come up with a mono sound. I can do just the right. Now this is so cool because when you get records, and the older records have it where something's on the left, something's on the right, this is great for doing that. And next I'll go back to here. I'm going to press, or turn the knob again, and that's it. That's the last feature in processing. I'll cancel that out. So now you understand that processing section, which is kind of cool. Now I'm going to go to here to my next page. Here is pretty simple. This is the last page we have inside of our trim mode. And you see I can change the tuning. I can change the root note for it. I can change the BPM right here if I want to. We have X2 and /2, which is double or cut it in half. And here we have this key B minor, it claims to be. And other features here too as well. So I'll use more, which I will use more in chop when I do chop. But in this case, I want to make sure we cover the main section of tuning and trimming. And the trim mode is there. So I can come out and chop. That's chop right there now. And this is trim, and this is chop. And we'll do chop next, our next video. But for right now, I want to make sure you understand the trim mode. Any questions, hit me up. And also, subscribe to us. We're on Sample Kings. We know all about sampling, but more than just sampling.